Hello, everyone. Good morning, or almost good afternoon. First of all, I just would like to say thank you, Calvin, for having us and the whole Australian team. And I also would like to ask a round of applause for the marketing team, because I know how hard it is to put an event like this together. So, congrats, guys. All right. Before we do any introductions, just wanted to quickly understand who's here and from the IT development teams, just by the raise of your hands. IT teams and business teams? All right, so almost half-half, right? Okay, so I'm sure that the presentation today will deliver some hopefully interesting thoughts for both of your, for both sides of the spectrum. Just starting with some introductions. I'm sorry, oops. Okay, it's working. So today we're going to talk about what's your cloud strategy first. So essentially two things. What's your cloud strategy? So let's talk a little bit about that. And also, how is Liferay seeing or delivering this vision for you guys? So with now, the introduction is not working well. Okay. My name is Pedro Cabral. I'm from Melbourne. No, Brazil. I've been with Liferay for the past 7 years now. I've started working on the marketing side of our Latin American operations, and now leading globally the business area of our cloud division. And alongside with me, the crown jewel of of Liferay, Thiago has been working with us for 12 years now. Has a lot of experience also on the consultancy side. So let's talk a little bit more about our cloud story. Talking about cloud, guys, I would say it's hard and easy at the same time. Easy because most of you know at some point what cloud means, but definitely hard and easy at the same time, right? So easy because most of you know at some point what cloud means, but definitely hard because Forrester says that cloud is probably the most transformative technology of the past decade, right? Forbes also says that approximately 90% of all enterprise workloads will be processed by cloud providers until 2020. And let me remind you that 2020 is tomorrow, practically, right? So basically what they're saying is that most of the information around the globe will be processed by or have data centers spread across the whole regions, right, across the globe. But the fundamental question that I wanted to raise here, or to actually ask you, it's why is that, right? Is it maybe because of cost optimization, easy of access? What is driving this, right? And I think it relates a lot to what Charles told us just a few minutes ago. It relates to this. Not oil properly, but data, right? So data is the new oil that we have now. It's the new raw material that is actually providing us all of the insights of your companies, our insights, and so on, right? If we take a stroll down memory lane, let's think about the 60s, right? This was the data centers in the 60s, right? So my grandfather, actually, he used to have like a safe box, right, in his house. And there he kept like treasury bonds, birth certificates, a little bit of money, not that much, mainly paper, old paper, but that's what he felt was important for him. And he felt that keeping that on premises or inside his house, under his roof, was the best strategy, right? Even if he didn't think about backups or incidents or anything, he felt that was safer, right? And these were the first data centers, so to speak. And so came the digitalization, right? So in the 80s, so we start talking about disks and so on. Until 2002, it was the first time that the digital surpassed the non-digital, 2002, right? What it means, in essence, is that today, we were actually in Africa a couple of weeks ago and doing some research where it was actually funny because we saw on CNN, it was a news about also technology and the speed of the new generations, millennials, etc. And something that caught my attention was that they mentioned that a 7-year-old boy, has the same access of information as a Roman emperor a few thousand years ago, right? I know, maybe he won't do the same thing or the same strategies, I would say, but in essence, he has access to the same amount of data, and this is massive, right? And this is on the power of you can, all of you have access to this. It is also true that by 2020, so next year, we'll probably have 45 times more data than we have today, right? So it's a lot. But at the same time, your IT teams are probably going around, so this is also a worldwide statistic from AIIM, that they mentioned that although the 45 times growth in terms of data volume, the IT teams are just growing at a 40% rate worldwide, right? This is still big, but there is a discompass there. How come are you going to produce 45 times more data, but our teams are just going to grow 40%, right? So you, as IT teams or business teams or enterprises, regardless of industry or size, you have to consider working with tools, with platforms that can automate that work for you. Can make your lives easier, right? All right, so at the end of the day, what's the most important here is that you understand that cloud technology transforms everything, right? Maybe the best is it's not about necessarily about storage or hardware. It's just a good strategy to turn good idea into great software, right? And now that we know a little bit about, we have set the stage for cloud, we know about data, let's talk about some of the cloud strategies that are in place. So at some point, you probably have seen those three terms, right? So infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. And I really wanted to bring this to you guys today in order for us to compare how would that look like when we compared with traditional IT or with on-premises IT, right? And the funny thing while we were doing this research to show it to you guys, what our main conclusion was that, in essence, the elements are the same, right? If you take a look at traditional IT on-premises and all of the other cloud strategies, all of the elements are still there. But extremely important now, guys, what changes in these strategies are your responsibilities with this kind of applications, the way you're going to manage that, cost, time, and many other factors, right? So again, if we compare 4 of them, let's take infrastructure as a service first. So here, we are mainly, we are using a model that was already existent, so we're talking about storage, and removing that layer of complexity, I would say, for the customer, right? But at the end of the day, he still has to think about middleware, he still has to think about data, creating his application, right? If we take one step further and start talking about platform as a service, right? We are providing, I would say, the largest portion of the platform, but the customer still has to think about its application itself, right? And lastly, software as a service. So Charles talked a little bit about Analytics Cloud on the SaaS side, and it is a turnkey solution, right? So you can customize at some point, but overall you're using what you have, right? And okay, so after we understand those 4 concepts, comparing traditional IT with the other 3 cloud strategies, I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation that we're not just going to talk about what's your cloud strategy or cloud concepts, but how we are helping in this realm, right? And for the sake of the example, I think it's interesting to make it tangible, right? So we're all talking about very, maybe sometimes abstract concepts, and it's important to relate to your day-to-day activities. So we created this airline called Acme Airlines just for the sake of this example, but it was funny. We were at this African event, and then after we wrapped up, this guy came in and said, hey, it's an interesting example. I am from X airline, and it does relate a lot to my day-to-day life. Okay, so here we go. So Acme Airlines, and it's also interesting to say that all of the data that we are bringing here, it comes from real Liferay customers. As you know, we have been, some of the industries are highlight to us, so and we are also in the airline space quite broadly, I would say. Okay, so for Acme Airlines. Acme Airlines is a company that flies to 80 destinations across the globe. They have about 1,200 daily flights, of course, all around the globe, and around 20,000 employees, right? As you know, airlines have a very mission-critical business, right? Every time that you are buying a ticket or that you are getting into an airport, you are accessing all kinds of information. You have your boarding pass, you have already purchased that ticket, you know your seat. So there are all of big systems, I would say, that are underneath the hood making that happen, right? Acme Airlines needs a portal, a public portal, a robust one that can handle Black Friday promotions, that it is selling 24/7 for its customers. They also have a loyalty program, again, based in a real-life scenario. They also have a loyalty program, one of the oldest loyalty programs in business. And they also need an intranet, a digital workplace. So again, as I mentioned, they have 20,000 employees. So all the information in terms of if the plane is allowed to take off or not, all kinds of policies, it's all in their digital workplace. And again, multiple layers of IT services, I would say. Ticketing systems, booking agents, and so on. Right? It is also true that apart from all of the business requirements or business needs they have very, very important IT challenges, I would say. Right? First one would be related to management of their teams. Right? They have to have 24/7 teams monitoring their on-premise installations because all of their applications are in their house or underneath their roof, I would say. They also have to worry about their security of the space, right? They have to think about even air conditioning, temperature, upgrades of their physical space, I would say, maintenance, sorry. They also have to think about incidents, right? If there's anything that happens within their own premises, how they're going to handle that incident. Do they have SLAs for that? What's their incident management policy? They also have to have 24/7 support, both for their IT teams and for their customers. And last but not least, there's the education, right? So they have to continuously provide education for their teams, for their internal teams, who are maintaining infrastructure or who are developing, because keeping everything under their roof is quite expensive. And we as Liferay, we understood that. Again, we have 15 plus years, so Calvin showed the slide that Brian's very proudly showing at our conferences, and it's actually a huge milestone. So 15 years of existence, so we know a lot about mission-critical projects all across the globe. And we understand those challenges, and furthermore, by understanding them, we want to help you address them right away, on day one, and transform them on business drivers, right? Whether you are converting more on your website because you have a more performatic application, or you are reducing costs because you are cutting deployment times, change rates, and so on. And at the end of the day, I really like what Calvin mentioned in the beginning of his presentation, where he mentioned that customer experience is the last battleground. Acme Airlines also believes this, because although they are tackling all of those challenges, IT challenges, ultimately, if they provide a good customer experience, they will return, right? They will retain those customers. Okay, and now I want you to correlate those challenges with DXP Cloud, right? So Jacques talked very well about his project or his path to the cloud, and I really wanted to take a few minutes to explain more in detail what the platform is all about. Okay, if we would explain in a nutshell or very briefly what DXP Cloud actually is, we can say that it is this enterprise solution that really simplifies deployment, management, and evolution of your Liferay DXP with PaaS capabilities. Maybe an easier way to explain, even easier, right? So this is a summary, but if we would summarize DXP Cloud in like elements, so it's more tangible for all of us. Okay, so Acme Airlines has their public portal. You know what Liferay DXP can do, right? So it can create all of the digital solutions that we mentioned in the beginning, from public portals to dealer portals to digital workplaces and so on, right? But before you start implementing this, there are some challenges that everyone implementing a DXP has to face. First is infrastructure, how they're going to set up the network, how they're going to handle security of their data centers, how they're going to set up the performance, which operational systems they're going to use, and so on. Secondly, challenges or decisions the customer has to make related to DXP itself. Are they going to run a DXP on cluster or not? How are they going to run the DXP backups in case they need? Performance, tuning, and so on. And lastly, but not least, DevOps, right? So how they're going to correlate development and infrastructure in a more seamless way. They have a release management process. It's everything clear. The gentleman here sooner this morning talked about agile, and it's a crucial thing to consider. So first element of our composition here would be Liferay DXP. The second one, we are integrating or we are bringing to this product the cloud element of things, right? So again, we want to remove all the complexity in terms of implementing a cloud strategy for you and brought to the product. And third, the PaaS element. So Liferay DXP, the cloud infrastructure, and the platform as a service element. You'll be able to see the product live in a minute. Okay? So Liferay DXP Cloud is the combination of those three elements. Liferay DXP, the cloud infrastructure, and platform as a service capabilities. Okay? Just to wrap up, I think those concepts are crucial, and I really liked what Jacques mentioned earlier in his talk, that he, and also Tim, when he mentioned about the Australian landscape, is to actually first focus on what matters, right? They have a lot of business needs that IT team that the IT team has to deliver or has to work with the business teams to make that a reality. And DXP Cloud, the first concept that we want to bring to the table is focus on what matters. We know all of those challenges that you guys are facing from an IT side, and from the business guys here in the room, we know that you have the time to market needs, you have to launch your campaigns fast, you have to evolve your project, right? So focus on what matters is the first concept that we want you to correlate with DXP Cloud. The second one, deliver with confidence. You'll be able to see many features today related to autoscaling that Jack also mentioned, backups, monitoring, everything that is already integrated and brought to the platform that will be able, that will make you able to deliver your project with more confidence in a more seamless way. And lastly, evolve faster, right? Once you're focusing on what matters, so you're focusing on your core business and leaving all of the infrastructure pieces with us, and delivering with confidence, you're able to evolve faster, you're able to fail faster, to change your strategy faster in a more agile way, I would say. So with that, I would like to hand over to Thiago so he can show you more the product, how it looks, and then we have a space for a Q&A in the end.
Great. Great, Pedro. Thanks for setting the stage. Let me get this guy. So all the things that Pedro shared with us, all the data, the statistics, the change that we are seeing in the world, they were used to shape DXP Cloud, right? So all this experience was used to shape DXP Cloud to deliver a new experience to our customers, okay? And this new experience starts with a single email, right? We invite the customer to have access to their account. And once they have access to their accounts, they will be able to see the list of projects and environments that they have access, that they bought from DXP Cloud, right? With this simple process, we cut, I would say, days, probably weeks or even months of setup of a new project, right? Imagine that you need to buy computers, buy software, set up all these new versions in all the environments and have everything ready to go, ready to start actually, okay? So this is not the only challenge that I would say in a Liferay project that you guys probably know, that you guys are aware of. I'm here, I would like to share with you guys 6 challenges that is we realize that are very crucial in any Liferay project, and how DXP Cloud address them. So the first challenge is monitoring. Everybody here on the room knows that you need to monitor your production servers, even UAT servers, to know if you are using too many memory or if you are having some CPU problems. So, and what are the challenges here? You need to first decide what software you're gonna use to monitor your servers. Then you need to integrate this monitoring system with your servers, like open ports on your firewall or configure files to be able to export the metrics to the software. Then you need to decide what metrics you're gonna keep tracking, and then create alerts for these metrics. So it's a new world, I would say, once you decide to go to live or something like that. And on DXP Cloud, we understood that, and from moment zero, we provide you a functionality that monitor all your environments, all your servers on your environments. So we have this monitoring page that present very easily a graphic with the CPU, with memory, and transfer for each of the services that you have on your stack. I will talk a little bit later about the stack. You can also change the time frame where you are seeing all this information, right? But this is for instance, a dev environment. But once you go to production, you need to have more information. You need to be able to go deeper on your infrastructure, on your metrics, right? And we understood that, and we established a partnership with Dynatrace, right? So Dynatrace is one of the leaders of APM tooling, application performance monitoring tooling, and we established this partnership. And once once a customer has a contract with DXP Cloud, we provide these customers to account on Dynatrace. So the customer will be able to access and see all the information, the metrics, memory, CPU, database on Dynatrace, right? So, and Dynatrace will be able to, for instance, provide insights where you are facing a CPU spike or a memory leak, or if there is some SQL that is take too much time, is slowly. So Dynatrace is very important when you are planning and when you are on live, or when you are going live, right? So this was the first challenge, monitoring. The second one is Autoscaling. So imagine for Acme, for instance, this is a real case that we have with Acme, with our fake example. So since they are an airline company, they do some sales event, right? And they need to expand their production servers to be able to handle all the load that this sales event will cause on their servers. And for doing that, they need to buy new computers, buy new software, buy new hardware, software, install these same versions of the software on the new computers to be able to cluster on their current production servers. So all these are like very challenging. Not to mention that you need to plan ahead. Like you need to know when you're gonna need more CPU power to handle the load, right? So it's very challenging. And on DXP Cloud, we understood that again and say, okay, let's create one feature that allow our customers to be able to just click on a button and deploy new servers on their current infrastructure. So on services, on the list of services that we have for Liferay, we are able to enable the autoscaling. So we are provide customers a way to tell the platform that, okay, if we are facing some load on the production servers, we can deploy new containers or new servers on this cluster and expand the CPU power that we have on the production servers, right? And this is pretty easy how to do it. It's just a matter of enable the autoscaling. By default comes disable, but once you enable, the platform will start to keep tracking of metrics, CPU and memory. And once these metrics reach a given threshold, for instance, 80% of usage, the platform will deploy automatically new containers on the production environment. Okay, so you don't need to do anything. You don't need to configure new servers or configure cluster. Everything is already set to you to expand your production environment. Right. So second one, The third, backup and restore. This is another challenge, and Jax was sharing with us this morning that in the past he had like 2 or 3 hours to restore an environment or to restore database on a low-level environment, right? So this is the type of use case or problems, challenge that we face in customers, and we brought this functionality to help to deliver, for instance, a restore process in 15 minutes, okay? We provide 2 ways of doing backups. We have a manual backup and automatically backup. Manual is a user interface. You click on a button. I will show later on. And automatically, you configure how often do you want to trigger a backup process. Okay, and here, and how this works on DXP Cloud. So we have a backups page where we present a list of backups. We also present the information regarding what will be the next backup that will be triggered, the next event, when was the latest backup, and what is the oldest backup. Okay, so we have all this 3 information. We also have information regarding what is the frequency, how often we are triggering the backups. This is regarding the automatic backup. And the retention, how long we are retaining your backups, right? We also add a very smart, I would say, very intelligent feature, that the Backup Now button that allow you, for instance, trigger a backup just before you are going to production with a new release. So imagine that your team creates several new features that one of them changed for any reason, the structure of the database or change some data in the database. So if something goes wrong, you can, if you trigger this backup, after you deploying this new build on production, and if something goes wrong, you can restore the data. Right? So you are safe to go back in time and say, okay, no worry, we made a mistake, so we can fix it, and then we can restore, then fix the problem and do a new release, okay? And so this is backup, and how we can restore, how hard it is to restore, or how easy it is to restore a backup that we have on DXP Cloud. It's pretty easy. So we have this list of backups, and on the context menu, we are able to start a wizard that will navigate us through the process of a restore. So 2 informations are presented here for us. One is the summary of the backup, so when it was taking the backup, what's the size of the backup, and the other one is a list of environments that I can restore this backup into, right? So we have the 6 environments that was presented in the beginning, and if I choose, for instance, UAT and trigger the process, the platform will stop all the services that are running on UAT. It will delete the current data that has on UAT. It will restore the backup that we just choose it from the list, and then start the services that are running on UAT. So you don't need to do anything. It's just choose, go through the wizard, and the process will do everything for you, right? You don't need to go over like different teams, requesting backups, requesting restores, stopping servers, deleting old data. Everything is managed behind the scenes for you. Self-healing. This is another challenge that our years working with customers present us with the knowledge to create this feature. So self-healing is the concept that you are able to heal some servers that are behaving in a wrong way, I would say, right? So this is a challenge. Usually teams or projects they have a NOC team, a network operation center, where It's a lot of people in a room looking on monitors, looking for red flags or alerts that need to take some action. For instance, restart a server that is not responding. So we believe that we can improve that, and this was our motivation to create the self-healing capability. Right. The self-healing capability is presented in our stack. I didn't present the stack before, but our stack is composed by a database, a search, Liferay itself, a backup, and a web server. So this is the default stack that we have on our environment. And all the services, they have this self-healing capability. So if something goes wrong with, I don't know, search is not responding in a timeout, it will restart the search server. Okay. So we have two types of probes. So we check in two ways if something is healthy or not. We have the liveness probe and readiness probe. Liveness probe indicates to the platform that the process is running, right? So the process running, we have a process running on the CPU. So this indicates that, okay, something is running, but is this ready to be used by clients, by browsers? And this comes readiness probe. Readiness probes indicates to the platform that Liferay or search or even the database are running to get requests from customers, from, I would say, clients. So imagine that Liferay, for instance, starts in 3 minutes. These 3 minutes, we are checking with the readiness probe if it's ready to go, if it's ready to reserve requests, okay? And how this works? Again, we on the services page, we have the list of services, and we have a column called status. On this column, we have, you can go over to the label ready, and it will open context menu where we have the liveness and readiness probe parameters. So we can tweak the parameters. Every Liferay project is different. I'm pretty sure like Liferay starts on different times for each of you in your projects. So you can tweak these parameters to be able to wait a little bit or try more times. So you have different configurations or different parameters that allow to do these configurations and fit your requirements of your project. All right. Dev Lifecycle. This is another challenge that everybody here in the room knows how it works. It's, I would say that's a big challenge. It regards as a SDLC or software development lifecycle. This encompasses everything that you need to do to get one idea, transform it in code, and push to production. So all the phases like plan, build, code, test, monitor, release. This is huge. It's a lot of items that you need to go over. And on DXP Cloud, we decided to focus right now on one of them, that is DevOps. So we create a flow where the developers can create the code. So they create new teams or new modules or extensions of Liferay. They push these chains to Git. And once they are pushed to Git, our Jenkins or continuous integration server, it will get a notification that something is ready to analyze or to build. And once it compiles all the Java code and the CSS and build all the jar and war files, it will create in the end a build. It will create in the end a build that will be available on the platform on DXP Cloud to deploy, right? So understand as a build to be a binary where you can use this binary to deploy on any environment. Okay, and let me show you here. Here is the list of builds that we have. So, for instance, we have internal projects on Liferay that has more than 1,000 builds already. So they are 6 or 7 months in production, and they have more than 1,000 builds. So it's very dynamic. You produce a lot of builds. Every single change that your team is creating probably will create a build on the platform. Okay, and builds the builds were designed to build once and deploy anywhere. So our idea is to use the same build to deploy on the dev environment, then promote to the UAT environment, and later on promote to production environment, right? You don't have change between, when you are moving from one environment to another, you are not changing the build. So it's one thing that don't change. And how this works, how I can deploy a new build or one build to any environment. So again, on the context menu, you can choose to deploy the build, and it will open a wizard pretty much in the same way that we have for Restore, where we present the information regarding the build and a list of environments where I want to deploy this build to. So if we choose again the build, the UAT environment, we will be able to deploy this build on the environment. And once it starts the process, the platform will stop all the services that are running on UAT and deploying the new build on this environment, right? We can see here on the latest deployment, this overview page presents several informations, and one of the information is latest deployment, where we can check what is the latest deployment and if it's running or if it's already done. And if the badge in blue there, it's spinning, means that we are still deploying something, okay? Or you can go to deployments page and see all the information regarding all the deployments made on your project. So we have the development environment, UAT environment, and production environment. Here on the middle, we have the UAT environment, the one that we are deploying our new build. And once it finishes, the badge will turn in green, which means that we are ready to use. It finished the process, and then we can access this environment and check the modifications that this build is introducing. All right. Last but not least, we have disaster recovery, or DR. So this is another very, very important feature. And it's a big challenge. So how many of you have faced this, where you need to create a second data center, probably having a second team, and sync these two teams to be able to, if you have a problem in one data center, for instance, I don't know, you lost connectivity on this data center, you need to switch to the new data center. And Acme had this requirement. For them, it's very important. They are an airline company, so they need to keep their digital presence up and running 24/7. And so with these requirements, with this experience that we got from Acme and other customers, we built the disaster recovery functionality. And we built in two ways. We have two types of disaster recovery. We have intra-region and cross-region. Let me explain intra-region how it works. So since we are running on the cloud, our data center, we have one data center that is running on Oregon. In these data centers, these regions, I would say, and on each of the regions, we have availability zones. So you guys can understand a availability zone as a mini data center inside of a region, okay? So, in these availability zones, they have different vendors of, different suppliers for electricity, for internet. So if something goes wrong with one supplier, the other ones are not affected. So this is important to mention. And DXP Cloud, once we start our orchestrator, once we start the deployment of your stack, they are aware of the different availability zones, and if something goes wrong with one availability zone, I don't know, availability zone A, if it's going down because of connectivity or electricity, the orchestrator will start a deployment on availability zone B. So with that, you'll be able to start serve your users on this new data center. And here it's automatically processed. We don't have any human intervention. The platform does this everything for you. But it's important to mention that it's inside the same region, okay? But if I have a problem with the region, the whole region, so for instance, if there is an earthquake on Oregon and all the availability zones are down, so you are not able to access any of the mini data centers or availability zones. For that use case or that event, we have the cross-region disaster recovery, where you can move all your code and all your backups from one region to another region. In this case here, England, so we will be able to restore your production environment on a different region, that in this case England, and start to serve your customers from that region. So you keep your digital presence again available for your users, right? So this completes all the challenge that we face on real projects and how DXP Cloud addressed them.
So guys, I was reading, I think it was on Bain & Company. They had this study where they mentioned that about, like, people will probably forget of 50% of any presentation in the next hour after they see it, right? And if you forget everything that you saw today, that's fine. You have a great team here in Australia that can support, you can talk to us, but we really wanted to bring after all of that you saw, even the stats in the beginning and how the product addresses all of those real challenges, real life IT challenges, why is this crucial for you at the end of the day, right? One, you are able to reduce your costs, right, dramatically. Once we are talking about cutting deployment times, when we are talking about implementing an out-of-the-box disaster recovery strategy, self-healing capabilities, this will allow you to evolve faster and reduce costs significantly. Two, skyrocket your productivity. This is also extremely correlated to the concept that we wanted to bring to the platform. And last but not least, the last battlefield, enhance your experience, right? Once your customer is feeling good with your project, be it an internal customer with your digital workplace, with your intranet, or an external customer who is using a website that was created using the DXP Cloud platform, you are able to deliver this good experience. And of course, leveraging all of the other Liferay solutions that we have, right? Just to wrap up, we wanted to share with you some of the logos that are already using and believing in the product. Different use cases, multiple industries. Telecoms, I think Tim mentioned this earlier in his presentation about the telecom industry in Australia. Vodafone Correios de Chile, Gympass, which is a unicorn, a Brazilian startup that is already using the DXP Cloud as well. So again, multiple industries, multiple logos are already believing in the product and using it to evolve faster, I would say. You can request a live demo. Check it out, our page. It's being constantly updated with some of the features that we are launching. And we are available for whatever you guys need. Thank you so much for having us.